Good morning. So today we are going to make a corn husk dolly. Now, I have some corn husks that were blessed to me by a stranger in my store the other night. And these are not dried corn husk. I did not get them in the craft section at my local Hobby Lobby. These are, in fact, corn husks that are fresh. And yes, I'm going ahead and making the dollies while they are green. So you want to make sure that your husks are unfurled. Okay, I may need to raise this up just a little bit, y'all. There we go. So, this one is ripped, but we're still going to use it. I have made the missus. But now, please remember, these are dolls, okay? This could as easily be... This could be representative of whoever you want to. You know, I think of, when I see this flowing skirt, I think of a creator that I know that dresses in drag a lot. And I love their clothing. And they have these flowy skirts that they wear all the time. And so, that being said, your doll can represent anything in the binary, anything in the non-binary, whatever. You know what I mean? But for this house, that's me. And the one I'm making today is going to be the Mister. Probably not. These are going to be used for the arms because they're a little bit shorter. I'll go ahead and throw that one in there too. And even these right here. We'll get to that in a minute. And this one is probably going to be laid over here to the side to be given as an offering to the land. This one's going to be an arm too. Okay. So I'm probably going to use these bigger ones for the body. I'll throw that in there somewhere. And because I like to work a little smarter and not harder, that one has to be laid to the side. This one is still okay. Yes. Okay. So the whole point in soaking them is so that they will lay out flat. But like I said, I'm not doing all those steps today. And I would trim these, but they happened to be a very helpful part of yesterday's doll. So we're not going to trim these. Let me find a few more. Or at least one more. Let me see if I can find one more like that. One more bigger one. Nope, I don't have any bigger ones. So, we're going to hope that these work. I'm just going to say that these two right here, especially that one. That one's big. Alright, that should be enough. Just get yourself a few. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, you can make these heftier, and you can make them, you can leave them skinny like mine. Does not matter. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your yarn, your string, whatever it is that you choose to tie with. We'll just lay this one on there for good measure. Pull you a piece of string off. Like I said, whatever kind it is, you're just going to loop it around. Okay, let's get these as even as possible. I'm going to line them up. Because the bottom doesn't really matter. If we need to trim, we can. Okay. All right. You're just going to tie it off. Tie it pretty tight. Just like this. Sorry, y'all. I'm having to talk and do this at the same time. Okay. You've got this. Then what you're going to do is turn it over. And you're going to start laying them over like this. Be gentle. Because again, these are, well, in my case, they are semi-dried plants. Just start laying them over. Just like that. You've essentially turned it inside out. The spots on this piece of corn is not, or a piece of corn husk is not mold. It's simply where there were some worms in the corn. It's natural. All right. Looks like Mr. Oaks is going to have quite the big head. For now, anyway. It'll shrink as it gets. Okay. Then you're going to take another piece of string. Yes, I use extra, but when I can, I actually save my little pieces, and when I can, I use them. So then, you kind of want to determine, I think that's going to be the back. Yep, that's going to be the back. So I'm going to kind of do this. And what I'm doing here is just making this one so it's more like his face. Okay. You're going to go down about this far. See that? See? Okay. Problem I'm having is that little part keeps popping up. All right. You're just going to tie it. Wait. You want to tie it in the back, okay? Whatever you feel is going to be your back, that's where your little ends are going to be. Now, let's come down a little bit further. Okay? Now, there you have the head. Now, for Mr., these that are sort of in the, these two right here can stick out on their own. But these two that are in the middle, these that are in the middle right here, I'm going to cut. Because we're going to make Mr. some legs. See, trimming, some of that stuff came off, right? Okay. Now you just got it a little bit separated for some legs. But before you finish doing that, you're going to need to make your body. But you're also going to need to make your arms. So we're going to put a few of these together. And I'm just going to roll them up. This does not have to be perfect. If you're wondering, I probably shouldn't have cut that for the legs just yet. But it's okay. We can correct. Because this is our doll. It's not anybody else's. Right? Let's cut that off. And let's cut that off. Alright, let's see here. Okay, now that you've got it all nice and rolled up. This one's tricky because you've got to hold it so it stays rolled up. And you're just going to tie each end to give the arms the impression of having hands. Whoop. Granny's going to have to turn her fan on. It's a little bit cooler here today in East Tennessee. But not by much, really. It's going to be in the 90s still, and the heat index is going to be way up there. Let's see if we can bring this around. Now, these are going to loosen. Again, I'm doing what I feel like is going to be the back. I'm tying the knot, in the back. These are going to loosen as they dry. Okay, I've already tightened up Mrs. over there this morning. And Mr. has some lopsided arms. Uh-oh. We might have to correct that. That's okay. Again, this is a very rudimentary. So you're just going to kind of turn it back over and kind of see where you can separate, where it'll kind of just go up in the body. Okay. Okay. And you're going to push that right on up. Okay. There we go. All right. Now, we are going to tie another string around Mr.'s waist. Get it as up close to that as I possibly can. Oh. I do perfectly fine until I start trying to film for y'all. So, this is a traditional folk craft. And I do not mean witchcraft. I mean simply craft. However, it has been utilized like a poppet. can be utilized like a poppet. Okay. So you want to get it as close as a representation of someone. You want to get it as close to them as you possibly can. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit more difficult than I thought. So first of all, let's even these up just a little bit. I technically should have done this before I started tying, but it's okay. So what I did is I cut that front that's going to look like an apron otherwise. And I have another one I need to cut. Now this is just if you're making legs. You don't have to do this step. But I want to make legs for the mister, so this just makes it easier. I'm not trying to break tradition or anything like that. I don't need anybody coming for me. Because I'm doing as I choose, because I can. Okay, now we've got some rudimentary legs. They're still not centered like I like for them to be, but you know, sometimes things are not an exact science. So, there. Okay. Now, there again, you're going to tie. I'm going to go ahead and cut me 2 little strings. Flip him over on his belly. Pull tight. Look under the table for the string that fell through the crack. Now, you may call that crack a design flaw. But that crack is actually a character that I asked for. Later on, we are thinking about putting a bottom on this table. And I may be doing a resin pour. But that will be quite some time from now. I'm going to tie it really tight. Now, and there you have it. There's Mr. I think they make a fine couple. And see, they represent my husband and I pretty good because see how much tinier I am? And my husband is so tall. Then you're going to go and you can clip off all your little clippings. Don't clip them too close because you don't want anything to come untied. These scissors aren't great, y'all, so I bought them as general craft scissors, but I don't know, nothing lasts like it used to. But I'm not saying let's go back to the good old days, because the good old days was not good. Regardless of what people think, the good old days was not good. So what can I use these for in magic? Well, give me just a second and I'll be right back. Well, it wouldn't let me flip the camera, so I'm going to have to do something I don't normally like doing. So, you can take this representation of whoever you want it to represent, and you can add herbs for whatever reason. If this is for a baneful working, you can stick pins in it. You can do whatever you feel that you need to do. And before somebody tells me that that's a voodoo practice or a hoodoo practice, yes, I am aware, okay? But people have been using poppets all across the world, okay? Forever. And whatever you can do to protect one, you can do to harm one, okay? Currently, because I am, Pomalopian, as they call us. I think that's the funniest name. That or Mayonnaise Militia. I feel that it is important for me to do some research on Irish, Celtic, and Germanic practices, because that's a heavy part of the bloodline in our family. So, that being said, I have been doing some research on those practices, but I don't want to share anything with you about it yet, because I want to glean and gather, if you will. And then I'll probably come back with some deeper knowledge about these, because I've literally just started researching poppets. The reason being is because when I came into the Appalachian folk practice circle, if you will, when I started talking to some people from Appalachia, oh God, I was told that you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, you couldn't do this, couldn't do that. I was also told by some other people that, that my granny shouldn't have been using the blood first to heal a mortal wound, or that she shouldn't have been able to talk the fire out, and all this crap, and that it's the seventh son of the seventh son of the seventh son. Well, what if they didn't have no fucking sons? You know what I'm saying? And nobody has 7 sons no more. So, I'm sorry if it's weird angles, because I can't see what y'all are seeing. My camera wouldn't flip. But my whole point being is I got real confused. And so that's why I want to make sure that while I will use a poppet, I don't want to use any African traditions of the poppet. Now, I did recently come across a piece of information. This was a video. I have not dug into it yet. But apparently the use of a poppet for specifically African cultures was like a map of the body. If they had pain in the head, the pin would be, or the nail or whatever would be stuck in the head. That lets the doctor, if you will, the healer of the community, that lets them know that last week or yesterday or whatever, they worked on your head. They probably gave you some herbal medicine. If your head's still hurting, then they would take the nail out and they would go at it again. They would give you something else. If you came back in and you were working on the stomach, you say, well, last week was working on the head, this week we're working on the stomach. Maybe they're related. Y'all get the drift. Y'all catch the gist of it. Again, that was a video, and I want to look into more of that to see how accurate it was. But yeah, they weren't initially meant for baneful workings. But one thing that I learned early on is almost anything that you do that is benevolent can also be baneful. So with the poppet, if you made a corn husk dolly and you dressed it up, or you painted the corn husks in the color of your neighbor's shirt, or the color of your coworker's shirt, or the color of some douchebag's shirt that was in Walmart yesterday that you know, was being abusive to someone in front of you, or maybe they were being verbally abusive to you, who knows. You can literally take that corn husk doll and make a puppet and fuck them up. We'll go into that later. We are going to be using Witchfoot's book a lot because I like the way hers is written out simply, and for baneful uses, I can go over some of the herbs that you could stick inside of it. Here's the thing though, I will say this. A lot of effigy work works way better with the more information you have. So some stranger that you see on the street that you want to hex a little bit, it's better to maybe just speak a spoken word over them. Have the day you deserve, motherfucker. Okay? Your words do have power, and you've got to start believing in that. Before I go off on another tangent in this video, because I don't want to drag it on too much, but your words have a lot of power. These little corn husk dolls would not be possible for me to make if I hadn't gotten blessed. So don't think that you have to have these. Okay? You don't have to have the expensive tools. Everything you see on my counter, or my altar over here, I said counter because it's a countertop. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Everything you see over here, Dollar Tree. And like I said, I wouldn't have made those dolls if it hadn't been given to me. You know? I mean, don't make your witchcraft more complicated than it has to be. Believe in yourself enough that if you are in a public place and a stranger wrongs you, or you see them wronging or being wrong to a child, or you see them being wrong to other people, and you want to do a little, you know, hey, have the day you deserve, or hey, you know, I mean, look at them and say, I curse you. Most of the time, that's just going to make them shut up, and that's fine too. Doesn't even have to be anything that witchcraft did. One of the things that I want to make sure that you understand here in the holler is that witchcraft is not as overly complicated as everybody thinks that it is. Okay? I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Stay witchy, bitches.